order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Fleming, will you lead us, please?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mike Kincaid.
Present.
Keith Campbell.
Here.
Morris Jones.
Here.
Dick Robertson.
Here.
John Copeland.
Here.
Brent Wheat.
Present.
Dan Fleming.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous council meeting on January 14th. Any amendments, changes, edits to the minutes? Okay, we entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Do I have council consent to take the agenda out of order?
Yes, sir.
Consent? Okay, consent. Since we are in a little bit of a challenging weather conditions, we wanted to have Dave Newell of the street department come forward. He has a food and beverage funding request for the street department radio system equipment. So I wanted to have him explain this, and then he can get back out and deal with the weather. So
thanks for moving me ahead there. The guys are already out, and I need to catch up with them. But yeah, we had a Raycom come in. We're having a lot of radio problems, like even trucks nose to tail. We can't communicate. We're having to call base, and Lana's calling out. Well, that works great until we're like this. We don't have base, so. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're back and a truck pulls up behind you or somebody it's a lot. We try and avoid accidents, be safe so we can be efficient. So they told us our radios are out of date. We're not even digital yet. They can't program them. So our FCC license is 25 watts. Our radios are shooting out 35, 40. So we're not even in compliance. And we can't adjust them. Radios, we got Patriot radios. Some of them that I don't know anybody. They told me that's pretty old. I don't know. But so they're Motorola radios. We had them quote us. We'll have 20 radios, 5-year warranty on the radios. It'll include upgrading the radios whenever they need to update. They'll include that. We'll have to pay for them to do it, the labor, but it'll include the update. It'll have display numbers now where we can, if somebody calls in, we know what truck number it is. It'll display on our radios for us. We got a nice feature that we liked is even with the base radio, you can hit a button if somebody's in trouble. They can hit the button. Now, obviously, right now, but maybe with what we plan on doing, it'll give us their location. But right now, it won't. But we could still know, hey, such and such is in truck 10, and that truck has a problem. So. And the same way for base. Lana's kind of on her own there, so sometimes, so she could hit a button nonchalantly. It alerts the other trucks with a tone that, hey, Lana's in trouble. Base, something's happened at base. So we could get help to her, or we can get help to that guy. So that's a nice feature to add. And we had them ask them, hey, we're growing. Right now we can't even talk in our annexation area without relaying, sometimes truck to base, but they'll up us to 45 watts. Digital, 10 years for our FCC license. The radios are warranted for 5. We made sure they went on beyond that. I said I don't want to get new radios and turn around and if we expand them we're out of, we can't talk again. So they went on a little bit, so if Lebanon continues to grow, we'll be ready. They gave us a quote of $22,185. We're able to share some of that cost with stormwater because a couple of the vehicles, counting the sweeper we share, qualifies for stormwater. So we're able to $4,500 and a little bit for storm and $45 for street. And then we're going to request $13,048.75 from food and beverage to help us with this. This is something we would have liked to have planned for. It's something I feel is a couple years we should have done, but not trying to make excuses or nothing, but when the budget was set for this year, I was not in command, I guess. So I came in after the budget was approved, so I couldn't plan for this, I guess. But we've had radio issues for a while. But that's what we're asking. Just help to get up to date and catch up to speed so we can operate safely and as we grow.
Yeah, I will say I took the opportunity to ride with the guys, not this weekend, but last weekend, when the big snow. And I will say the radios definitely were an issue, and I could tell that. And I'm not a professional truck driver or anything at all, so I knew they were definitely an issue there. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to bring this forward. And obviously with we appropriate $500,000 from food and beverage, and obviously State Department or DLGF doesn't want us to do additional appropriations this early in the year. That's why we kind of thought it would make sense to go for that. So really, Dave's budget is, we reviewed it, it's pretty tight. There isn't really an excess equipment line or anything built in like that. So we wouldn't be here asking for it unless we thought it was needed, so.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yes.
did you say the upgrade will be the 45-watt radio?
Yes, so we got that
Okay.
approved through FCC. They take care of the license and everything. And we
So
let,
is it still 2,500?
no, it'll be moved up to 45 watts. That way we can.
No, $2,500 for,
The price includes the licenses and everything.
Okay.
Everything I gave you, the totals of the 45, and the 13,048.75 is installation. That takes care of base, because you got to be real careful with the antenna. You can interfere with other counties, and
so you guys can communicate from one end of our area to the other end now?
right now we cannot.
No, I mean with the new radios?
Yeah, and beyond if we grow a little bit.
Okay.
Yes. I want to say they were said, I don't know a lot about radios. We were UHF or VHF or something, and everybody's going to digital, and I guess we haven't caught up yet.
And this was a company too that does our police and fire radios as well.
That's why we chose Raycom, because they do the local, they do the police, they do the fire, they do the county, they do the state. So we got somebody that's familiar with our area, and that, we wouldn't be dealing with one company while the state and the highway, so we're all on the same page. Nobody's interfering with nobody. We're good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dave?
How many channels you gonna have on it?
Just the one. We just run our one channel. And we don't run a repeater. We don't do none of that. Now, we actually have a radio that in the county or in dispatch that they could switch on to talk to us, but it's never been used since I've been here. They never choose to turn it on, so. That would be like an extreme emergency, or, like maybe our flood at 13 or something like that, but we've never communicated with them like that, so it's just for us. I told them I didn't want to interfere with the police and fire. We just need a simple radio that works for us.
Are they gonna be mobile or portables?
They'll all be mobile in the truck, all but three. Three will be portable for when we're directing traffic and stuff.
Okay.
Or handheld, we call them, or whatever. They got the same warranty as in the truck, and everything's the same. They are Motorola radios, so. And this is a long-term, easy 10 years. Our license will be good for 10 years. So this ain't like 2 years and we need radios again. This is an easy 10 years.
And this is a purchase, not a lease?
Correct. This is a purchase with a 5-year warranty on the radios.
Any other questions for Dave?
No, sir.
Any discussion from council?
No, sir.
Okay. I would entertain a motion concerning the food and beverage request from the street department for the radio system equipment.
I would make a motion. Go ahead.
Yeah, John, you, and I'll
All right, I
second.
just said I would make a motion that we give the street department not to exceed $13,100 for new radios for their department.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the funding request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that request is approved. All right,
Thanks for getting us
you,
in
Dave.
early so we can get out and work on the roads. Thank you.
Appreciate the help.
Thank you.
Okay, head back to old business now. This is ordinance 2019-01, which is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bond to pay the cost of certain additions, extensions, and improvements to the municipal waterworks system. This is on second reading. I know we talked about this kind of at length at our last meeting. This ordinance really allows us to fund our water utilities capital projects for a 5-year capital plan. It's a lot of cooperation between the city engineer as well as utilities went into this project, getting everybody on the same page and really drilling down of what we think are necessary and important projects for the city utilities for the next 5 years. We've already implemented the rates that will cover this, so it's really just a matter of fact of the final issuance of the bonds. So any further discussions or questions? We do have Julie and Scott, Julie from Krieg and Scott from Umbaugh. If you have any questions concerning it, they're available for us tonight as well. But I assume we're not going to read the full 60-page ordinance, so any questions, discussion from council?
Not at this time.
I think it's 90.
Huh?
I think it's 90 pages.
90 pages? Oh, not 60? Okay. Do you want to read it, Dan?
Get started.
Okay. All right, turn it over then to Rob to officially read on the second reading then.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2019-01, again, it authorizes the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds in one or more series for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of certain additions, extensions, and improvements to the municipal waterworks of the city of Lebanon. As the mayor and as we heard last meeting, the maximum cost of the project, including expenses, is in an amount not to exceed $14,700,000. The city, again, by this ordinance, will authorize the issuance of the bonds.
Rob, isn't that 14 million?
I'm sorry, thank you, yes, $14,700,000. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, that would be, I don't think we would get much with 14,000. Again, this entire ordinance is several pages long, but and it sets forth that the mayor and the clerk treasurer be authorized to execute the bond financing documents that we've done in similar agreements. Again, there's the authorization of the project. It goes forward in the separate issuance of the bands and the bonds in Section 2. If there are any questions, again, I think it would probably be most appropriate for Julie or for Scott, but it's pretty self-explanatory from that standpoint. So.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Ed, you want to say anything about this from a utility perspective, or you're good? You don't feel like you have to, but.
No, we're good. We kind of had a good discussion last time.
Okay, very good. Okay. Any further discussion from council?
No, sir.
Okay. This time I would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2019-01.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2019-01.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that ordinance passed unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Anything from council for old business?
No,
Okay.
sir.
We'll move on to new business. And the last item I have here, first item I have here is Resolution 2019-01, which is the appointment of Utility General Manager at Basquil as a Commissioner to the Indiana Municipal Power Agency. All of you should have received this fairly straightforward resolution. Being a founding member of IMPA, we actually hold a board seat on IMPA's board, or a commissioner seat on IMPA's board. So that seat is held by our general manager of our utilities. So when Mike resigned, that vacancy is now open. So we have the resolution here to appoint Ed, who's with us tonight. So very straightforward resolution. Any questions or comments from council?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll have Rob read the resolution then on first reading.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Resolution 2019-01 appoints a new commissioner to the Indiana Municipal Power Agency. And again, the resolution states that Mike Whitman has served as commissioner to the Board of the Commissioners of IMPA and was appointed by the City Council. Mike Whitman's tenure is again no longer applicable here as a commissioner on the Board of Commissioners of IMPA, and Ed Basquil. Basquil is hereby appointed as commissioner on the Board of Commissioners of IMPA.
Okay, as I said, very straightforward. This time we'll entertain a motion concerning Resolution 2019-01.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2019-01.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Morse. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, Ed, you're officially commissioner now. Congratulations.
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 Or condolences. All right, next up is ordinance 2019-02, which is amendment to Chapter 77, parking schedules within the city limits of Lebanon. This ordinance is on first reading. I'll turn it over to City Engineer Krulik to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is really an item meant to clean up our no parking ordinance. So this is ordinance 2019-02, and it's meant to replace Chapter 77, Schedule 1 of the City Code of Ordinances, which is basically a list of streets that have parking restrictions. There are a handful of streets that are listed in that ordinance as it sits today, but there are several other streets that over the years have had no parking signs installed. So this ordinance is effectively taking an inventory of the no parking signs, the no parking zones that we have existing today throughout the city, and is just cleaning this up. So this is really just a cleanup ordinance, with the exception of no parking areas on the north side of Maple Drive, where we have recently installed, the Parks Department recently installed some soccer fields on the south side of Maple Drive. So that's the only new no parking zone that this ordinance update is creating. The rest of these are already existing, no parking areas currently signed. This is just, as I said, cleaning up our ability to enforce those existing no parking areas with an ordinance that we could, that the police department could write tickets to, and that we can just better enforce. We will be also going out later this year as the weather starts to turn. This ordinance also does describe and envision us creating some no parking areas at street intersections and alley intersections. So effectively, we're going to do a citywide sweep and start painting curbs and or pavements yellow where appropriate at intersections, at crosswalks, and just to clean up those areas too. So hopefully we'll improve a lot of the visibility, maneuverability of vehicles going throughout our city, especially at the intersections. So again, this is a cleanup ordinance that is documenting where we have existing no parking areas with the exception of an addition of Maple Drive, and then it's also documenting our position on no parking areas at intersections with streets and alleys, driveways, and I did mention earlier also at our fire hydrants, keeping parking away from fire hydrants within 20 feet.
And so when we do, sorry, I had a question about that. So when we say within 20 feet, that's on 20 feet of each side of the fire hydrant, is that correct?
I talked with the fire chief. You know, the way they fight fires, they don't actually have to like park in front of the fire hydrant. They just need to be able to see the fire hydrant. They need to be able to get hoses to the fire hydrant. They actually don't park immediately adjacent. So he said if we had a total of 20 feet, that's enough for them to do what they need to do. So that's the reason the language is put in there as it was.
So should it be within 10 feet or within 20? Because if it's within 20, that would tell me 20 on each side.
I would think it'd be 10 on each side.
Huh?
I would think it'd be 10 on each side. That's a total of 20. Within 20.
Yeah, I mean, I will verify again with the fire chief, but I believe it was 20 total. And so, yeah, maybe that needs to be, we could rework that wording and say 10 feet of each side as opposed to 20 feet.
Okay. I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to make sure we're clear on it, right? That's a extra, that's extra 2 spots really with that. So.
Yeah, we don't want to try to restrict parking throughout the city. But we do want to make we do want to improve the things from a public safety and a transportation standpoint.
Well, it's on first reading, so we can look at it again too.
Absolutely. And as well, I would encourage you all, there's a lot of information here. I want to thank David Newell and his team. They provide a lot of help going out through the city, driving all the streets, inventory, and all these existing signs. But, these are also your districts, your streets. Please take a look in your districts, and if you see any signs that aren't on this list, or for that matter, if there's a particular narrow area of the street where you think, man, that should really be no parking, bring those to our attention, and we can get those incorporated before we see this on second reading.
We do have a large map too in front of us if you want to look after the meeting as well.
Kevin, I think it should say something about either side, because theoretically, you could park 5 inches from one side of it and then have 20 feet on the other side of it.
We'll clean up that language. Good point.
Okay. Any discussion from council?
Yeah, I do have a question. Section 2, uniform, says 2 maximum parking duration during, but I just don't understand what that means. If you read that for me.
Which section was it?
Section 2, subtitle uniform, UU.
Looks like we're missing hour.
Okay, so just a typo?
Probably 2 hour.
Oh,
maximum.
okay, I'm sorry. I follow you now.
I wasn't sure if there was like a double, I don't know.
We may just be missing an hour, 2 hour maximum parking duration.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep, I think it's just missing the word hour. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a couple spots then you need to go through.
Well, feel free to take your time and review this.
Okay.
And if you have any edits, feel free to suggest those, send us our way.
No problem. So as far as these these aren't new, these are existing parking spots.
Except for the one on Maple Drive, but yes.
No parking. So these are being forced by the police department, correct?
Where there's no parking signs.
Okay. So when we write these tickets, are they being written into, how are they being written?
That's, it will be written on a local ordinance.
Okay.
Where it was there, we're still working with the prosecutor.
You saw where I was going with that, so, okay.
We write it at the clerk's office, same as a downtown parking ticket. It's written at the clerk's office.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments?
In the wording of this, I'm kind of losing track a little bit on some of it. For instance, under the VV, as an example, yellow painted curb lines or edges of pavements indicating no parking. Now, will there be a sign?
We will not put a sign at every one of those areas like where we're talking about at crosswalks or we're talking about at intersections. Now, the intention would not be to put a sign at every one of those smaller areas, that the painted curbs and or painted asphalt would indicate a no parking area. You know, it's just probably not practical to think about all the, you know, if you think about an intersection, a four-way intersection having basically, you know, 2 signs on each corner indicating something like no parking here to corner. You know, we would just be adding, a lot of expense to installing all those signs, a lot more signs to maintain. So we were hoping that we could just enforce this through yellow painted curbs, which is pretty much a standard uniform traffic control device. Yeah. I can even show you a couple areas in town where we have a no parking here to corner on a stop sign. I really don't think someone was going to try to park in that 4 feet before they got to the corner, but those are a good example of where we'd like to clean up some of these situations, and we'll make that citywide blitz, as I said, to paint curbs and clean up some signs. There's also some areas where, you know, a whole side of one street is listed as no parking, but there's only a sign every 3 or 4 blocks. Well, we probably need to add a couple more signs there. So, so we're going to try to do a better job of inventory in those signs. We'll have an ordinance that can be effectively enforced now by our friends at the police department, and we're going to do a better job at signing and painting and indicating these no parking zones.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions, discussion?
Yeah, Rob, question, Rob. And I understand why we're cleaning this up, which is okay, but the police department cannot issue a ticket because there's no fine for this
There is, if you look at so what Kevin's intending in his office is to just really amend and replace Schedule 1. And so if you look at the city code, there is a penalty provision, yeah. Yeah.
Fee to go.
It's a $25. I have it with me.
Right,
So
this
it's in-
is just Schedule 1, the inventory of the no parking areas.
Okay.
Section 3. The remaining sections of Chapter 77 shall remain in force.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Any public comment?
Thank you for cleaning it up.
We'll try.
Okay.
Public comment, huh? Nothing.
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Rob to read on first reading.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2019-02, again, concerns an amendment to Chapter 77 of the parking schedules. And pursuant to Indiana Code, the city, Lebanon, may exercise its police power by ordinance, regulate vehicle parking. And again, as Kevin indicated, City Code Ordinance Chapter 77, Schedule 1, is intended to be amended and replaced in its entirety as set forth in Section 2. And that starts from subsection A and goes all the way to YY. The remaining portions of Chapter 77 will not be affected by this ordinance and shall remain in full force and effect. So if that's the extent of it, to the extent there are any questions or comments or changes, we can certainly address those at the next meeting by amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
One question real quick.
Go ahead.
Kevin, I'm looking on page 4, top of the page. Item TT, it says on the south side of Maple Drive, between the west line of Lebanon Street, 39, and the east line of Garfield. That's the south side where the park is.
That's right.
Do we want no parking on that side, but they can still park on the north side?
I think that was the intention, and we had a lot of conversations about this with the Parks Department and trying to keep the south curb line open so that it's more visible if children are crossing the street, where if you were parking on the south side, then you would potentially have kids running between cars and might not see them as you're driving by.
They're gonna block the driveways.
They won't be able to
can't block
block the driveways.
I know,
Yeah.
they will. When they-
Well, that's, again, an enforcement question and painting of the curbs at those driveway locations to make sure that people aren't blocking the driveways. To be clear, we're not going to go out and paint curbs on individual residential driveways, but any of the commercial entrances is where we'd like to start cleaning those things up.
Sorry, why I got you, is this going to clean up some curves that have been painted as well, and then maybe that shouldn't have been painted? Like, there's a curb down here on 39 that's painted orange.
We would like to make, we would like to make all curb markings uniform throughout the city. With that being said, we don't have the jurisdiction to paint any curbs on 39. We can talk to the state about seeing if they would clean those things up.
Okay.
But,
So when we have our annual Clean the City Day, downtown, we ought to include that as with the street department, volunteers to volunteer to paint the curbs. So we get all that done at the same time.
I got some spray paint. I'm sure there's people that want some speed bumps out there too.
We've actually been using this reflective tape, actually. Works pretty well.
It does. I will say, though, for this wide of a project,
You made any
we're
paint?
probably going to use paint, just a little more cost effective. The reflective tape or the heat applied tape is great. It lasts a long time, but costs a lot too.
Okay,
so.
fair enough.
Brand new city branded signs for no parking everywhere.
All right, I think we've probably beat this horse to death. So if you have any more edits, please feel free to send those to me or to Kevin. We'll get it cleaned up here for the second reading ordinance.
I have some copies of the colored map too. I'll lay on the table out here. If anyone needs a copy of that, they can grab that on their way
I think
out.
you sent us that, didn't you?
I did send it to
Yeah,
you
'cause I
digitally.
got
If
it
you
in
want
the
a hard
last
copy,
packet.
though, here's one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
All right, thank you, Kevin. So that concludes first reading on ordinance 2019-02. Is there any other new business come before the council? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 4, the claims. Any discussion concerning the claims? Would entertain a motion?
I make a motion, we pay the claims.
Oh, goodness.
Is there discussion? We have a motion.
We had a question
I have a
earlier
question on one.
Okay.
on one of them. Sorry, Mike.
It's on, that's Sustine there on the second page. Fourth from the bottom. Does she know anything about it?
I don't know. Cindy, would you know anything about the claims? If they have a question about the claims?
Probably not, if it doesn't involve payroll.
Okay.
Comes out of the court and utility thing and IT, O&M, so.
Can you ask Mia to look into that for us and
Sure.
just send us all an email explanation of what that was, what it's for?
So do we want to hold that claim then until we get clarification?
No, well, I think it's already in the O&M, the ITU budget from O&M, so we must have approved it to be paid, or it wouldn't be in there. That's where they took the money from.
Yeah.
But I'd just still like to know what it is.
Okay.
Cell phone reading system is what it's
Cell phone
called.
reading system.
Okay?
We can look into that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments concerning the claims?
No, sir.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to pay the claims.
Make a motion, we pay the claims.
We have a motion to pay the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims are approved. And any announcements or discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn and a second.
Second.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thanks for watching. City Council meeting will meet in 2 weeks,
Thank you.
February 11th.
There's toy with me. I did want